Hi, everybody, and today we've got Shera GALAL, all the way from Cairo. So exciting.
I'm so excited.
Shera, firstly, thank you so much for being with us today and starting so early. And
Yeah.
could you share everything about yourself?
Oh my God. All right. Okay, my name is Shahira Galal. I go by Shera. I live in Cairo, Egypt. I was born and raised in Cairo. And I lived a few years in the US for study. And I came back home to start I wouldn't say start my spiritual journey, but to continue my spiritual journey. Right now, I do introspective hypnosis as I facilitate sessions full time. I'm a writer, I'm a published writer, and a rower. So these are the main things that I do in my life now.
But you haven't told them about your mediumship.
Yes. Okay. So I was born as an intuitive psychic, and at the age of 30, I discovered that not everybody do that. And it was by chance. I thought everybody can talk to their ancestors who passed over. I thought that everybody can hear the trees and hear the cats and dogs and they understand the language of the thing. They can understand the intense energy. I thought that that was like comes with the package. And at the age of 30, I learned by chance that no, it's not. So
So
I'm like,
tell us how that happened.
well, I had a mentor at that time, and he was an older man, beautiful, beautiful man, and he was teaching me a lot of stuff. And I went to his office one day, and I'm like, the plant up there, and at the front door is not liking this spot. And he was like, oh, excuse me? And I'm like, the plant, the tree that you put up there is not liking this spot because everybody is bumping into it going into the office. You should change this. And he was like, okay, all right, okay, hang on. What's happening here? And I'm like, couldn't you hear it? She was like, very complaining. She was like, okay, get me out of there. And he was like, okay, I just moved this plant to that spot this week. And this is a new spot for that plant. And I'm not surprised that she's not liking this spot because this is a busy traffic. She used to be in a quieter space. And he was like, okay, so I'm gonna move the plant. So, but okay, what's happening? How did you know that? And I'm like, okay, you didn't hear that? And he was like, no. And we started talking, we started conversation, and he was like, okay, what else you can hear, what else you can sense, and what else you can see? And I'm like, okay, so you mean that people don't do that? So that means I'm weird or you're weird?
He's weird. He's weird.
Yeah, because I was too old. Like if I discovered that earlier, probably I would have blocked it.
So, when did you know then that you were hearing people who've passed over?
All the time. Like I've been doing it since I was little. Like, if there's any energies in the room, I would sense it. I would sense is who's that person, if it's a male or female, is it related to anybody? Does it have a message? Does he have a message for somebody in the room or just checking out on their relatives, they're checking out their old houses. Um but I wouldn't say anything because it was like I thought that everybody can see that person. Why would I say it something?
But Shira, when you were giving those messages to people, was it just family members? Because nobody then said anything to you before that man that made you think otherwise.
No, I started giving messages after I realized that not everybody's hearing this. So I'm like, wait a minute. So if you cannot hear that, that means I'm the only one in the room can hear this. And it took me a while to work it out in my psyche, okay, not to feel weird and not to feel like imposing something on somebody that might not be ready. Some, they are freaking out and that might be too emotional for them. And, you know, and after a while, I just kind of like, you know, worked on that muscle to understand how to deliver these messages.
So, how would you know when it's a good idea to deliver the message? Does the person who's passed over give you some help with that?
Uh, Not really. No, not really. They just have something to say. Sometimes they're just here to check on people. Oh, that's my daughter. I'm just checking on her. So, but right now I just deliver any message I get. I'm that comfortable to do that. And I would say to, a totally stranger, hey, your dad is here, and and he's saying, oh, how's your cat?
Yeah.
And the other person will be like, oh my god, my cat is sick. I get a lot of get a lot of validation on that it's very hard to hold it anymore.
So, why did you then do this introspective hypnosis? What led you to it?
Well, okay, so before that, I would like to mention that I came from a very business-like studies. Like I studied corporate finance for all of my life, and I worked in the financial sector in banking career. I had a very solid career in banking. It was going great, but I remember my very first day in the job. I went to the job. I was in the US and I was wearing a suit and playing all like, business Barbie and very happy. And it was my office and my team. And that was a great role. And I'm like, the second day was, it was nice. And the third day, it hit me. It was like, wait a second. So that's it? That's it for the next 40 years? Are you kidding me? And from the third day of the job, I wanted to leave because I thought that, that cannot happen because I see older people in the job and how they are and how, and I'm like, okay, so this is not the place for me. So let's start doing something else. So let's start looking for something else. It took me 15 years from that day to leave. So, because the more you do it, the more you get used to the feeling. The more it's like quicksand. The
Hmm.
more you go into it, you just sink in more. And I've been doing it a lot of things at the side. I was learning a lot of things and doing a lot of activities, but I cannot find the thing that clicks, right? So within this journey, I moved back to Egypt, and again, I got a job in the same banking career. I was very celebrated because I had this education in the US and I had my career started there, and so I was very celebrated. It's great money, great team, and great staff. And I have this beautiful corner office right on the Nile, and it's beautiful. And I'm like, okay, but still not it. So let's start something new. So I started like getting to know the country because I was away for so many years. So I was getting away from the country. I started traveling inside. So I started going to the desert and I would meditate in the desert and I can hear the desert coming alive. And I'm like, okay, this is an amazing journey. That's amazing. And then I used to do it every weekend. And started diving. And Egypt is one of the best diving spots in the whole world. And I started free diving, which is going down without no oxygen tanks. And I started like understanding the limits of the physical body, that your body can do a lot of things that you don't even recognize or you don't even understand. And you dive in and you just lose the aspect of time. Once you're under the water, it's like you're 2 minutes down there, it feels like 20 minutes. You're just like very much you're connected with this environment, very much connected with the fish, and the fish would come out and they look at you like, oh, look, what is that? Let me see. And they're so curious. And I'm like, okay, so my connection to nature started very strong. So I wanted to do something that happens maybe outdoor, with nature, where I can wear anything but a suit. So So anyway, I'm like, okay, so I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna, keep my job and, do whatever I'm doing on the side and doing my traveling and all this exploration until something clicks. In 2016, I got sick. I got this autoimmune disease that nobody knows. It took me a very long time to get diagnosed because um, it's very hard to diagnose. It's like a bunch of symptoms, and nobody really understand what's really going on. So this doctor would tell me so, that doctor would tell me so, and I'm like, okay, I cannot trust these people. So what am I gonna do? Until I went to the doctor, and he said, okay, you have so and so. It has a name, and it's not curable. It only gets worse from that
Oh,
point of time.
how
It only
fabulous was
gets worse.
that?
Yes. And he said, okay, I'm quoting him now. And he said, all right, in 2 years, so you might start shopping now, but in 2 years, you'll be in a wheelchair. Um,
And this
so
is
you might start
2016.
2016.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and he said, okay, you might, I was walking on a walking stick by that time. I was using a
Oh,
cane to walk. And then he was like, okay, this is only gets worse, and it's not gonna happen. And you either that you have to take this, this biological medication, you have to do this, and this medication is not available in my region even. So I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna be paralyzed from the waist down. Do I want to do that? No, this is not what I really want to have in my experience in life. So being in bed for 3 years, almost 3 years, not able to move around. I would go out for once a week and stay for the rest of the week in the bed, being helped to the bathroom, being helped like to eat and all that. And I'm like, okay, so I was watching videos, I was doing a lot of reading, I was doing a lot of writing, and I came across Alba's video and I got hooked. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna listen to this forever. And I started listening to the hypnosis sessions that she posts online, and I totally resonated. I'm like, okay, if I have a question, it will be answered. Just have to randomly click on a video, and this is where my answer will be. And boom, that happens. And I'm like, okay, but this hypnotherapist, she's like the master of hypnotherapist. She's like booked for life. I will never get to meet her. I'll never get to have a session with her. And the very next day of my thought, little did I know, she announced that she co-teaching introspective hypnosis with Antonio Stangiu. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I was like, talking to my husband, and he was telling me a story. And I'm like, oh, okay, baby, tell me more, with Alba's voice. And he was like, you know what? You've been watching too much of these videos that you, I'm going to sign you up. I'm going to sign you up for that. And you're going to go and have your session and study and do that. So this is the moment I freaked out, and he did that. Like I was seeing him like timing my name, and I'm like, okay, anxiety attack. So, and
so
after
Shahira,
that,
to interrupt you, did you then fly to the US? What happened?
um, the first thing that came to me, I'm like, okay, am I taking my walking stick or not? And my husband said, okay, you're not gonna need it there. Just go, depend on your feet, and you're not gonna need it. And this is exactly what happened. I went there, I met Albus, I took her session, and that was the last day I had my symptoms. And that was that.
And just like that.
Just like that. Just
And
like
didn't
that. And
something happen to you in that course? Didn't Antonio use you as an example?
yes, I was I was one of the example that he used me all the time. And the end of the course, we had this group practice session that we have to practice with each other. And I ended up on the chair, and I started channeling Isis. And everybody left their practice session, and they came gathering around me asking questions. And the staff of the hotel left what they were doing, and they came like, asking questions, asking ISIS questions, and the kitchen of the hotel came and asking questions. So I got out of this hypnosis and I found like 60 people around me. And I'm like, whoa, what is going on here?
Wow, you see, I didn't know that side. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it was a fun experience. It's a lot of confirmation, a lot of validation, a lot of meeting people that would understand. Like when you speak the language, they understand what you're talking about. Um,
And Shahira, why did ISIS come through? What is your connection with ISIS?
well, I have a strong connection to my ancestors, the ancient Egyptian culture. They are so amazing. I cannot tell you, just have to sense the energy of Isis. She is so strong. She's like the mother that will tell you what to do, and she wouldn't take any from anybody. She would like, okay, I want you to do so and so. And she's very strict, and she at the same time she's very loving. Like you can see like how much you can love a person at the same time. You tell them, okay, this is where you should go. Um, so I have very strong connection with her. She's absolutely amazing. Very intense energy though. Very, very, very. It's nothing that I have experienced. It's like very intense energy. I've been sensing energy since day one for me, and she's nothing like anything I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
She's very big. She's very full of herself. She's like the divine mother. She's like there is no place for doubt there. There is no place for fear when you are at her presence. Um,
Fantastic. So, with the experience that you've had of speaking to people who've passed over and all your hypnotherapy work, what would you like to tell the audience about what happens when this 3D body is no more?
you're still there. You're still out there. Like I would comfortably say that um, death is not the opposite of life. Death is the only opposite of birth. There is no opposite of life. There is nothing else but life. So when you pass over, when you lose your body, you go back to source, you go back to God, you go back to where you belong. You don't die. You just fake die.
And you fake die. And so, if you were to think about God, if people speak about God, what would God be to you?
Well, for me, God is everything. I'm just saying metaphorically he because this is what we always like, okay, used to, but we don't have um, a word for God. So I'm just gonna use source. So nothing else exists for me but source. Nothing else exists but God. We are from God. We are going back to source. We are separated from source. Um, so it's everything. It's like everything. It's in here, in you, in this little butterfly, in my dog, in the flower, everywhere. Um,
Okay, so you part of Source.
Absolutely.
Okay, which brings us to vibration.
Yep, yep. All right,
And
we can.
we
Go ahead.
spoke, you said to me when we start speaking vibration, Shame, have some water.
All right, let's do that.
Because when we spoke about vibration, you said you could do an entire session on vibration because you're the vibration queen. So, the questions that we've been asking people are what makes your vibration high and what brings your vibration crashing down and what is vibration?
All right. So in this universe, everything moves. Nothing stay constant, nothing stay fixed. You are in constant moving. And where do you move? The vibration where you move, the wave, the wavelengths where you move, this is where you're gonna live your life. This is gonna be your world. So if you vibrate at a lower vibration, this is where your experience gonna be. It might be full of fear, guilt, um, all kind of lower vibration emotions. If you're vibrating at a higher state, you're gonna be feeling. It's like you can see the two people at the same exact experience, same exact place. Somebody is happy and somebody is sad. Why is that? Because this is, their state of existence. This is where they are. So if you want to know, if you want to understand how you raise your vibration or lower your vibration, it's very easy. And this is an exercise I use and with my clients a lot. It's that easy. Think about think about um food that you love. We all have some kind of food that we love. Imagine this food in front of you. Imagine the colors of the food. Smell the smell of the food. Imagine that it's very well decorated. And now take a piece of your favorite food made by a gourmet chef and put it in your mouth and feel the taste. And feel this feeling. Take it in your mouth and feel this feeling. And you'll be like, oh, this is so yummy. Like one of my clients said, okay, this is so yummy. This is a piece of lemon. And I'm like, okay, that's a first. Most people choose burgers. But you never know. Anyway. So this feeling, that means you're satisfied at this moment. And why do I use food and why do I use a physical? Because we all can relate to that. But sometimes we can use something else. Imagine that you are in your favorite place in the whole world, in your grandmother house. That's for me, and in the beach, sitting with your lover, sitting with your kid. The first moment that you've seen your newborn, all that. This is a high vibration moment, and we go this and anchor this moment because this is a benchmark. We can go back to this anchor anytime, right? And now go to a memory that you've been humiliated, insulted. Go back to the first day of school when you were so alone and not knowing what to do. Who are these people? Everybody's crying. And people will be like, whoa, I don't like being here. I'm scared. I just want to disappear from here. And this is your lower vibration. This is fear. So now imagine the difference between the two. Now jump from your plate back to that moment, the first day of school when you're so scared, and now jump from the first day of school back to eating your favorite plate and know the state of existence because we learn by black and white. And they were like, oh, okay, now I understand. So and then we start self-observation. We start, okay, so where are you now? What's the feeling? Where do you feel it in your body? How do you feel it? Is it pressuring? Is it piercing? Is it painful? How, what would you like to do? What comes to your mind? Because your feeling control your thoughts, and your thoughts control your actions, and your action controls your life. And I feel this anger. And I'm like, okay, what comes to your mind? Oh, I'm gonna punch this person. So realizing the thread, that means, okay, before punching that person, you understand that what's really happening. All right. So let's work on the anger. What's really angered you? Where is this coming from? Let's trace it to the root and find out where is this coming from. And when we heal it, when we deal with it, that's a layer that we can deal with it. And you don't have to live from that place anymore. Hey, do you still want to hurt that person? Like, no, I don't want to hurt that person. He just, did what he did, and that was that. And actually, I feel compassion for that person. He didn't know any better. So that's moving from a lower vibration of anger to a higher vibration of compassion.
And
And this
that's where
is,
most people struggle because
yes,
they're living in the anger and they want to be angry and they don't want you to take that anger away. But at the same time, they're miserable with the anger.
with the anger because you're holding this, fire pole. Why are you holding the fire pole? Just leave it. It's up to you. It's your chance. The thing about it, like, you hear a lot of things about, okay, step into your, greatness, change your life, and nobody tells you how. Nobody tells you. Like, it's a step by step. It's like, okay, let's do this first. Let's go to grade one first. Let's go to grade two first. Let's go to grade three first. And then, you can get your college degree.
But Shahira, what practical steps can you give somebody that perhaps can't afford a therapist?
All right, I had a client just yesterday, and she's been into therapy for over 3 years. And after 3 years, her therapist told her that she needs to get used to anxiety. And because there is no solution, just get used to it. We're just going to manage it, and that's it. I dare to differ. We don't have to live with anxiety. We don't have to live with sadness. We don't have to live with grief. We don't have to live with anger. That's your choice. It's a choice. Um, so we have to take it one step at a time. Anxiety is a part of our psyche. Anxiety is it's that fight or flight mode that our reptilian brain put us in to warn us about something. Like when we were living in caves and there was a lion coming out of the cave, and I'm in anxiety because I need this adrenaline and to run. But there is no actual lion here in our modern life, but we have lots of fears. So it's a matter of finding this lion that scares us, finding this monster inside that trigger this anxiety. And anxiety is a friend because it just pushes you. You're like, hey, run. And the thing about it, it doesn't tell you what are you running from. So it's my job to find out what are you running from. Hey, let's come and dive in and see what are you scared of, and see why and where and how to work it out. And you know the anxiety is coming to warn you about something. Let's listen. Anger is coming to warn you about something, is pointing you to something. Let's just listen. And these are the parts. Let's welcome all our parts. All parts are welcome here. Everything, light and dark, everything are welcome.
So maybe they need to actually take time to quieten, to actually listen to themselves.
Yes, and this kind of work you cannot do in running. You cannot do it while you're running in your life. Like, oh, I have to go to work, I have to pick up the kids, and I have to go to practice, and now I have to. You cannot do that. Like, if you have this feelings that this discomfort feeling that you need this space of silence to do your work. If you need help, ask for help. If you can do it yourself, it's absolutely fine. If you're still early in the path, just get some help, somebody to show you how. And this is what I always say. I'm like, okay, I don't want you in my therapy room a year from now. I want you to do the job for yourself, to be able to do the job for yourself. And you just come for, if you cannot find, if you just need the help, if you need my help. But part of what I do is to teach how to do it for yourself, because it's a natural right. It's your birthright to know how to heal yourself. The psyche is just like your body. When you cut your body, when you have a paper cut, when you have, any kind of cut, you just clean it, put a bandage on it, and let it heal. You don't do anything. You just, you don't look at it. Are you healed yet? Are you healed yet? You just let it heal. You just let take it its course. And the psyche is just like that.
So
It's a
why
matter of,
heal? Why don't they heal?
because for the physical body, it's very easy to find where the wound is because it bleeds. There is a physical blood, but in the psyche, in the part that we don't see, there is a wound, but we cannot find it. We know the bleeding. We've seen the bleeding. We've seen the burst out. We've seen the anger. We've seen the anxiety, the panic, and all that. This is all bleeding, but we don't know where the wound.
Yes.
And and that's why we dive in and find where the wound is, and we just heal it. And once we do that, it just let the physical the psyche takes care of itself.
So, what would you say to people about actually having therapy, having the hypnotherapy?
Do it. Do it. Absolutely do it. Everybody needs to do it. Um, don't go until you are so uncomfortable with your life and with your situation. Just do it to explore yourself, do it to be in a higher vibration, do it to get closer to your soul, do it to understand what's going on. It's as simple as that. Like I had a pain in my eye last month and I had a session to see why my eyes are hurting me. I did the doctor thing. I still go, to the doctor, and he said, okay, just a little inflammation, and we're just gonna do the drops. But I was curious to know why my eyes did this inflammation. I just wanted to know. And you still heal the physical body. You go to your doctor, you do what you have to do. Just understand what's behind.
So that you can
And
actually work on the origin
yes, absolutely.
of what was actually causing it in the
What
first
was
place.
yes.
So, what can you tell people that are listening if they feel alone? What can you tell them about guides?
All right. Okay. So some people are connected to their spiritual guide, but some people are alone. Like I don't hear anything. I'm here alone on earth. This is a meaningless experience, and So if you're connected to your spiritual guide, so you have some lifeline you can use. Yes, you're alone, but you can call somebody. Um, but if you're alone, this is where you need a little bit of help. Um, all your guides are inside, but if you in a place that you cannot even get inside, and I see that in my practice a lot, you know, I get people who have in a very, very, very deep depression. They they put a lot of energy to come to the office. Just going out of bed, it's a lot of work. And if you are in this situation, ask for help. There is nothing wrong about asking for help. Hey, I need help. And that's it. If you are alone, just ask for help and somebody would help you.
And can they perhaps start journaling and maybe speaking and connecting with a higher source that way? I mean, what about the soul family?
Well, if you are connected, just do your work. Just connect your heart and ask the question. It's it's not about the answer, it's about asking the right question. It's always about asking the right question. How to ask the right question. So if you are connected to your soul family, that people that decided to travel together or come to earth together, if you're connected to any spirit guide, if you're connected to Jesus, if you have anybody that spiritual being that guiding you, ask the right question and keep asking. Don't stop asking, keep asking and ask for more.
And I think sometimes people get the answers, but they don't even realize that they're getting the answers.
Sometimes it manifests in your body. Sometimes the signs are so obvious. Like I went to that place, and since I started this job, I got allergy all over my body. So I'm like, okay, what does this tell you?
True. Now, I absolutely love the story that you told me about when your mum passed away, as when your father passed away, and then your mum said that your father wasn't there to greet her. Could you explain to people how families are not necessarily as in the same soul family?
Well, soul family is different from family, from earth family. You can be here, that's your daughter, that's your dad, that's your mother, but on a soul level, that might be a bit different. So, soul family, according to my understanding and how I think Michael Newton explained that very in a better way. Soul family, those souls that start decided to travel together, to have experiences together. Think about it like if you go to a sport club and you get to know 20 people and you find like you made five friends. And okay, so we get along, these five friends, we get along and we hang out together. Let's go to happy hour, let's go to lunch, let's go to Earth. So think about it this way. So these are the people that you hang out with. These are the your lunch people that you hang out with, and you evolve together and you teach each other lessons, and you come to Earth and guess what? You recognize each other by the eye. So ever walk to a place and you look at some person and I'm like, oh my God, I feel that I know you.
Yeah.
And you start talking and you never stop. So look for these people because
And
you
you don't
have
have to explain yourself. You just
you don't have no you don't
know.
have to
You feel
justify.
comfortable.
Be comfortable. It's just that comfort. It's that buzz. It's like that you can speak to that person from the heart and you can talk, 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 and talk. You might not even meet one more time. You might not be like in the circle of that person, but this is a person that you've known on another level.
And you've
So
made a
when my
connection.
yeah, when my mom passed away, and my mom was very picky about her death. She didn't want to die. She was very scared, and she literally or what's that word?
Orchestrated. Yes.
Orchestrate
Big
her
word.
death. Yeah, it's like she didn't want to die alone, and she didn't want to die. She didn't want to die, and then discovered later she was living alone by that time. She has so many conditions about how she wanted to die. So she manifested an illness that not very dangerous. It was very normal, and she had to go to a surgery, a very routine surgery, and then she would go to my brother's house where she is surrounded by her grandchildren, my brother family, somebody is helping her, and then boom, she decided to go. Even her doctors were like, okay, they didn't understand why is that, and I'm like, look at her, I'm like, okay, you did well. That was well played. So anyway, so when she me being a medium and being able to see on the other side, I looked on the other side and walked her through the light because she was freaking out, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this job, and it's the most wonderful job that I can do you know, for a soul to bridge them over. And she was like, okay, she went there and she was greeted by a best friend of hers that she died like 30 years. I didn't even remember that person. And she was greeted by her older brother. And she was like, where's my husband? He was supposed to be here. That's my dad. Uh, and I'm like, okay, let's hang on for a second. Let's see where's your husband? And I went to see my dad and he said, I'm not there because I'm not in her soul family. I will go and see her later. We just had this experience on earth together, and I'm gonna go and see her later. She doesn't have to worry. And I went back and I'm like, okay, he will come and see you later. Now you have to go with the people that are assigned to meet you. And when I see her brother and her best friend, it all makes sense. It's like these people were very close to her, even though they died years ago. And that was that.
Yeah, you
And that
see,
was,
some people just don't understand that, do they? They think that if you earth family, then that's it for always.
yeah, yeah. That's absolutely fine. We respect all beliefs. Um, we are here not to impose anything. I never impose what because I change my beliefs all the time. Like I question my belief all the time, and I say, okay, is this serving me anymore? Does this make any sense? Did I learn something new? Am I knowing something else? And if it's time, I just change it. So that's why I never tell people what really happens. Okay, this is the way that this universe work, and instead I step into their world, understand their world. And this is what I always say. Somebody said to me the other day, I was telling about this client that he went to hypnosis, and oh, what he can see is food running after him, big sliced pizza running after him, and I'm like, and this person was asking me, so how come you don't laugh? And I'm like, I don't laugh in session because I do not exist in session. I don't. It's
It's their
totally not.
story.
Yes, it's their story. It's about them. I totally do not exist in session. If you ask me anything personal in session, I wouldn't be able to answer you because my memory wouldn't work. It's as simple as that. So I step into the world of that person because everybody has their own world and we have to respect each other world. The conflict comes when we try to push and pull, hey, come to my word and believe what I believe. I'm like, no, I don't want to believe what you believe. I have my own belief system. This is where the conflict comes. And no, all what you have to do is just respect that everybody has a path and everybody are in the right place at the right time, and that's it. And all what you can do is to love them and have compassion for them, and that's it.
I always think it's tolerance. What's right for you or for me might not be right for somebody else, and that's okay. Because if I want them to believe, or not believe, if I want them to allow me to have my beliefs, then I've got to allow them to have theirs. It's just tolerance. So,
Absolutely.
so Shahira, you've written a book and you've just written your second book. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, I've been writing almost all my life. I love the word. I love the vibration of the words, and I always say, like, the words doesn't serve us um, as they supposed to. We don't have enough language to everything. We don't have to, at least in my perspective, like I feel the vibration. I don't have enough words for them. I don't have any words for them. Um, and so I started, okay, let me publish what I write. And I published my first book after in 2019, and it was a beautiful experience, and I learned so much. Like, once you publish your book, that book is a living being, and it has its own course of life, and it has its own experience, and you just have to respect it. You just have to detach yourself and let it go, and then you're going through the same. So so when people comes to me with opinion, oh, I love the book, I hate the book, and what do you mean by that? I'm like, I don't know. It's you. It's not me anymore. It's your reflection. It's your projection. This is the book that I wrote, that I expressed my shadow side. I was doing the shadow work at that time, and I decided to put it all in the book. And guess what? I'm just going to put it out there so would feel that, hey, you're not alone dealing with your darkness. If I dare to do that, you can do it. If I can put that in a book on a shelf on the bookstore, you can do that. You can deal with your darkness in private.
So you're giving them
So
permission.
to sorry?
So you're actually giving them permission to allow them to know that
Yes.
this, like, film style life that everybody shows is
Yeah.
actually not the truth. That
Exactly.
everybody has dark days.
If I'm saying, like, if I dare to say I'm scared, and with all the education I have, with all the beautiful life I have, and I still say I'm scared. I'm scared when I go to the street of this big city. I'm scared when I go to this. I'm scared you know, to deal with that. If I'm allowing myself to do that and put it in writing and publish it, hey, guess what? You don't have to toughen up. You don't have to be anything. You don't have to be strong and independent. You can have your dark days and say, hey, I have a dark day today. So what? I feel I'm not feeling okay today. And it's okay not to be okay. And this is the first step. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be the best person that you think you are, or you believe you are, or you're taught you are. You have to be.
And you were like that for 3 years in your bed. You took a long hiatus as such to find yourself, to really
Yes.
connect and come out a different person.
Absolutely, because I was like, okay, I'm doing this, perfect life of the corporate life, and it's beautiful when I used to have straight hair, and it's beautiful when I used to wear a suit and, be respected and by the society because the society give you conditions. And I'm like, but this is not what I want to do in my life. And my state of health, it manifested exactly where I was. I didn't want to walk in that path anymore.
So
So
you
my
weren't being authentic and true to yourself, and your body told you. That's
yes,
what
my
you
body
say.
told me, "Hey, you cannot walk. You cannot even use your legs because you don't want to walk to that path anymore. So just listen." And it took me long time to listen, but when I listened, it all made sense. I'm like, okay, I'm not walking that way anymore. I don't want that way. I'm doing what I'm here and for, and let's do it. I don't care. I don't care what people say. I don't care. And guess what? When I took this decision on another level, I found my teachers and I studied, hypnotherapy, and I start practicing from day one. And right now, I'm very proud to go to the office. I'm like, if I have a day full of session back to back, this is my happiest day. And I'm like, okay, I can do this forever. Like one of my clients tells me, ask me, don't you get tired? I'm like, no, this is my natural flow. This is where my energy comes from.
So, how do people get hold of you if they want a session with you? Do you offer two separate, different kinds of sessions? Do you do the hypnotherapy and the mediumship? How does it work?
Well, well, right now, I other work online, so this is my main media right now because of all this, the COVID thing and stuff.
Yes.
Um, so they can connect with me through messages. They can send me a message. I'm available through Facebook. It's Shera Galal. Uh, um,
Actually, pronounce it for them and spell it so that they know.
okay, it's SHERAGALAL. This is my Facebook, and my website gonna be launched within this 2 days. So it's either today or tomorrow. It's shahiragalal.com. So I'm very excited about it. This is a step that I've been putting off for quite some time,
Okay,
and
so that is such good news. So it's
A.
SHERA.
Okay, it's SHAHIRA Galal GALAL. It's written right there. It's written in my
Okay,
in
so
my
they'll be
name.
able to see it. And if not, they can contact me, and on the YouTube they can ask, and we can put your details there so they've all
Yeah.
got it. So
Should
where to from here? What more do you wish to achieve?
well, right now, I'm putting
Once
a
COVID's
program.
gone, once COVID's gone,
All right.
COVID free
I'm
world.
I've been cooking in my head for so long, and I've been thinking about it. I've been dreaming about it. I'm putting a full program. I call it the first I called it the healing program, and I'm like, okay, we don't need to be healed, we just need to be reminded. And so I call it the reminding program. I'm reminding people, um, and this is what I want to do, and this is what I want to focus on later on, and take a person from where they are, and walk them through what they have to be, their path, not my path. I can teach my ways, I can teach my skills and my techniques. It's easy, but the thing is everybody's unique. It's like everybody's so different, everybody's so has their own path. So it's not me teaching techniques, it's more like, okay, I'm showing you the way of where your natural path is. I'm reminding you of who you are, who you really are, and this is what I want to do next. I want to do that.
But how are you going to do it? Are you going to do it with a whole lot of people in a classroom situation, or are you going to do it like a hall full of people? Because there's only one of you, and there are many, many people that would love to, you know, lift their game as such.
Yes. The structure I'm thinking right now is to do both, like to do individual sessions and to do group session. what happens in the group session that you harmonize the energy. As before COVID, I was doing the group hypnosis thing, and because I can see the energy, so I harmonize the energy and make sure that everybody is, in a good vibration and all that. So, and the thing about the group, that you get to see the people that are like you can, you can benefit from each other. It's not just me. It's like, you can talk to people that would understand. And then the individual sessions helps, like, okay, you have a special blockage, and let's just work on it. It's absolutely fine. Just, let's remove it and go back to the path and come back and work more. And let's do it with fun. It's not uh, it's not work. We do your work, but actually, it's, let's do it with fun. Let's play with it.
It's like liberation, really.
It's like liberation. It's like, you've been living your life carrying all these things. It's like, okay, we just taking it out. How easy is that?
From the heavy winter coat to the bikini.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Shahira, I just think, what might be a fantastic idea is for me to bring a group to Egypt.
Egypt is a very intense energy. I would love people to come and visit. I would love people to go around and see the sacred sites around the world, to be honest. Egypt is one of the sacred site that you need to be here. You need to be here to understand it, to believe it. Because let me tell you something about the temples, right? When you walk into a temple, the temple is alive. It's a living being. This is how they were built, the way they are built, and in the flow of energy of Earth, and resonating with the stars to make them living being. And these places have been, a place for lots of rituals, lots of chanting, lots of ascension rituals. So when you walk in, according to your level of awareness, the temple gives you exactly what you need. So if five people get into the temple, some person might see all stones, and they get bored and like, okay, just gonna wait outside. And some person walks, is like, as if they're walking into a Disneyland. Whoa, oh my god, all these experiences, everybody's talking to me, everybody's moving. And this is the way they are. This is how the temples are built. And there is a say that I've heard the other day, and I thought that it's amazing that all this ancient culture, they used to build temples until people understand they are the temple themselves. So they used to build this architectural amazing places for you to understand you are the temple, you are the being, you are source, and find yourself and find your source. And this is why I would love everybody to get a sense of that. This is an acceleration of their path.
So it's just time for them to find themselves and connect with their very own temples that are always there.
Yes, absolutely.
And then when they go to these sacred places, to be quiet and to let one temple recognize another.
Yes.
And then let the temples talk to each other.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So
And
once
it's an
again, it's
amazing
the
experience.
discourse. Let the discourse begin. Let the conversation
Let the
continue.
conversation begins. It's so amazing.
It's just fabulous, and I just love the way that you and I met. Through Sabrina, through that whole Peru contingency again, um, and then the very first conversation we had was when you said to me, "So what's happening? Tell me a little bit about what's going on." And as I had told you about that strange experience that I'd had with all the letters looking like 3D and I couldn't read the book. And then when I put the podcast on and all the ladies' words started emanating color in the sky, and I spoke about the point of stillness with the light, sound, and the vibration, which then became matter. And you turned your screen around with all your Arabic writing and said, whoa, listen to this. And it's almost exactly word for word. And then we knew, yep, the eyes met.
The eyes meet. I'm like, okay, my soul family, gather up.
And there's the connection.
And this connection, and it was to say, we've never met in person. I have not hugged you yet. I have not, we've never physically met, but
No,
we've been connecting, and I've been like sending you messages and giving you update of what's going on. And because it's so comfortable. It's like
yeah,
when you
because
meet.
I've known you forever.
Exactly.
So, is there anything tonight, because I can see time is moving on, is there anything, and we haven't stuck to all the questions because it just flows and it goes where it goes, but is there anything that you would like to discuss or say that I haven't asked you that you feel might be important at this time, that you would like people to know, like a sense of hope or something for the future, or how to
Yeah.
be with themselves?
I think it's about something I'm practicing recently. Um, my belief that there is nothing good or bad. Yes, there is lower vibration. Yes, there is higher vibration, but there is no judgment. It's our judgment that say, okay, this is good or this is bad, this is dark and this is light. And as I said before we start recording, it's very important to understand that you still can be in your enlightenment state of existence, in your state of oneness, and you still can draw your boundaries around you, and you still can say no. This is not acceptable in my world, and you still can say, hey, that makes me feel uncomfortable. Being spiritual doesn't mean that you're all happy all the time. Being spiritual means that you are authentic to yourself. So let's not forget that.
And I would actually like to tell the people now about the gift that you gave me, and this exactly says what you've just spoken about not being good and not being bad. It's the duality that we've come to experience both. And maybe what we think is bad at the time, we have no idea how it's working for us and not against us. When you had that conversation with my father, who passed away a year ago, who had not a terrifically great father time with me, simply because, as you picked up, that he was a heavier energy, and that we had that separation for 30 years as father and daughter, that he decided to disown me. But when you came through and said the reason for the separation was that his energy was too heavy for mine, and had he stayed in my life, my growth wouldn't have been the same. So the old Jill would have felt sad about that, and I should have had this
Yeah.
perfect father-daughter relationship. But in actual fact, he came, he filled his contract, he was my father, and he brought me into this world. And he
Yeah.
then released me so that I could do the work
Mm.
that I could do. So it wasn't bad at all. It was the most beautiful, selfless gift that he denied himself, that father-daughter relationship, in order for me to tread my path. And I'm telling that story because I'm firstly letting people know how incredible you are as to how you pick up, but how you heal in very little ways, and how a situation that they may be going through with family members, which might feel dark or upsetting or heavy, could actually, in fact, be the exact opposite.
Absolutely. Like just yesterday, I had this client that he came to me 5 months ago with so much resentment toward his mother because his mother decided to get divorced. And that changed the whole course of life for him. They moved from the big, beautiful house with their dads to a smaller, in a not a very nice place. And he moved from the beautiful school to a public school, and it changed the whole thing for him. And right now, after 5 months, and he was like, "So, how do you feel toward your mom?" And he was like, "Oh my God, I have so much compassion for her because she saved us from our dad. She saved us. He was not at that point, he was not the perfect father. And she just was all what's happening. And what's happening, moving around from different environment, it enriched my experience. And because I have this experience, I speak several languages because we moved. Now I have this fancy job I have. I wouldn't even been hired if I hadn't had this, going to the public school and going to the private school and learning English, learning French, learning German, because we moved a lot. And I wouldn't even have this beautiful fancy job that I have right now, which I love. And
So
so
it's
you
all
never
perfectly
know.
planned.
You
It's all
it's all
laid out.
perfectly planned. Exactly. It's about perception. So let's just change perception. If you don't like that, let's just work it. And and let's change that perception.
And that's what we've said the whole time. Perception is all about vibration. And if you're feeling low and miserable, then if you are able to change your perception, and while it's difficult, do one small, lovely, joyful thing for yourself each day by imagining that gourmet chef is making you a beautiful plate of food. So,
Just do that.
any words for the listeners?
Well, I just want to tell them that I love them. And wherever you are so loved unconditionally. You don't have to be anything today. You don't have to have, your hair is messy and you're wearing your pajamas, and I still love you. And that's it.
And that's it. So, Shahira, from New Zealand to Cairo and around the world, we are so grateful for you and the beautiful work that you're doing. And we are really looking forward to coming to Cairo and getting you to show us your temples while we introduce our temples to you. So thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you for having me.